Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, fresh off the hurricane that almost leveled my house yesterday, but thankfully did not. And I was really grateful for that. So I'm here today, though, with a very awesome young man, great guitarist, John Prentice. John was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. Actually, both of his parents and his brother are professional musicians as well. His dad played with Olivia Newton-John, Don McLean, Lyle Lovett, The Rascals, and various other artists. And John himself has worked with Desmond Child, who, if you're not familiar with Desmond, he wrote Living on a Prayer, Living La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin, Dude Looks Like a Lady, Hate Myself for Loving You. These are all a bunch of the last couple of Aerosmith hits. You Give Love a Bad Name, and loads of other top 40 hits. So he's cranked out a lot of hits for Bon Jovi and Aerosmith. John has also recorded at Dave Grohl's studio with Richie Sambora and Oriente. I got to talk to him about that. And he got to open for Bon Jovi and appeared on a Nickelodeon show. Currently on tour with Ryan Follese, who is the former frontman of Hot Chelle Ray, who had the hit song Tonight Tonight. And John was opening for Florida Georgia Line and Low Cash early this year and is currently on the Sam Hunt 15 in a 30 tour with Maren Morris and Chris Jansen. John Prentice, thank you, man. I appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey,
happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Awesome. And how old are you?
20.
I actually have genes older than John. Congrats. There you go. Hey, real quick, before we get started, what was the last piece of music you listened to before you got on this call?
That is a good question. Let me actually check that. You know, it's funny. I went back to like a bunch of old grunge stuff. So I was listening to System of a Down, Toxicity.
Very cool. I have that.
I think earlier today.
That's funny. I have that. Is that what you normally listen to?
You know, it's not. I was playing. I've gotten like super into bluegrass lately, so I was playing that, and then I just for whatever reason fell down that rabbit hole.
Wow,
just songs I loved when I was younger.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that whole genre right there. Do you listen to music? Do you stream music, or do you actually listen to it on CDs or not CDs? On your iTunes.
I try to know what that is. Actually.
What, a CD?
A CD. That's, yeah. Showing your age here, Craig.
I am, and I have. I no, it's true. I just streamed my first piece of music like 2 weeks ago.
Really?
I swear, man, to listen to an artist I was interviewing, and I always try to listen to as much of their music as I can. But no, because I have, like, I grew up listening to music, but to me it's like I had a conversation with an artist. Do you happen to know Greg Martin from the Kentucky Headhunters? I
can't say that I do.
Well, I think it was Greg. We were talking, and for guys that are a little older, listening to music was more of an experience, an event. Like nowadays, I talked to Jerry McPherson, who I'm pretty sure you do know or know
sure.
of. So
absolutely.
Jerry said one of the things that's changed most in the music industry is that you have to get to the punchline real quick, that people aren't willing to give. Years ago, the general public would be willing to at least get to the chorus and maybe even the second, hearing the chorus twice to make a judgment on a song. And he said one of the kind of frustrating things, or not frustrating, he said just one of the biggest changes is you have to get to the good stuff really quick. I always say it's like when you go to Mardi Gras, it's like, show me your tits. You want them to see that really quick.
Sure.
That's my words, not Jerry. He would never say that. He's much too classy. But
and that is so true. I think that the big thing everyone uses these days is Spotify. Mm-hmm. Is that where you were kind of streaming from?
No, I wasn't even there. I was streaming from my Amazon.
Okay. Well, regardless, I'm pretty new to Spotify myself. Until extremely recently, I was just buying everything on iTunes because it kind of felt more right that way.
Yeah.
But I shattered that illusion a little bit because I actually got on Spotify. I was like, oh wow, everything I've ever wanted to listen to is on here. And I will say, I listen to like was like their top 50 of the day or something, or maybe of the week. And just me personally, if the first like 10 or 15 seconds didn't interest me, I went to the next thing. So I'm just as bad. You know, it's true these days. I mean, just the attention span is none, you know?
Yeah, I get it. And that's why it's so popular. But see, when I listen to an artist, I'm willing to give them a whole album.
Sure.
So if I find one really good song on the whole album, it's good. And if I find 2 or 3 good songs, I will buy another record. So it's kind of like I want to have a relationship with the artist, you know, through their music, of course. And so I'm willing to give them a shot. But I know that's in the minority. So that's really why I don't stream. But I obviously, all my kids are, you know, some of them are younger than you, some of them are older, and they all stream. Nobody, like, you know, they all come over here and laugh at me. But, you know, that's just the deal. But, okay.
Well, and, you know, I'm sure it was different back then, too. I mean, these days, the entire world, I was talking about this with my friends all the time, the entire world is in your hands, literally.
Yes.
So, I mean, how can you, I mean, especially for the kids that are just maybe barely a generation under me, I don't know how you have an attention span, you know? Like, I mean, seriously, when I was younger, my parents didn't let me have an iPhone until I was probably 17. So when I was a little kid, I mean, I would still go outside and play with sticks and stuff by the creek, you know?
Wow.
But my little like nephew has an iPad and he's like 6. I'm like, man, I don't know how you can have an imagination if you don't have to. You're on YouTube all the time, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. With that. But my good buddy, his kids have had iDevices from the time they were probably about 2 or 3, and
sure,
and they're super smart. They do great in school. So I don't know. I guess there's an argument to both sides, and
absolutely,
it depends on the kid. So, but anyway, okay. So System of a Down, good stuff. So you've really done very well in a town that's not short on guitar players.
No kidding, man. They are everywhere.
Absolutely.
They are everywhere. I got lucky. What can I say, man? I got crazy lucky.
Well, you got a lot of projects going on. What thing are you working on now that you're most into or most excited about?
We're finishing up the Sam Hunt tour. We have I guess 5 more shows. And our next one is on Thursday, and it's at Madison Square Garden. And
wow.
Yeah. That's bucket list, kind of like, I still can't believe that's going to happen, you know?
Yeah, man. 20 years old playing the Garden. That's awesome.
Crazy, dude. I mean, yeah, that's probably the main thing. And that's really the only thing I've got going on. And then just kind of, just trying to figure out the rest of my life outside of that, you know? I don't think I want to tour forever. It's just not the most stable thing that I've been a part of. But for the time being, it's been absolutely amazing, you know. And everyone on this particular tour, on the Sam Hunt tour, there's not a single person that I don't genuinely enjoy as a human, you know. Just really great crew of people.
Which makes your life much better being on the road in a bad situation anyway.
Oh, unbelievable. And this is, I mean, I have the easiest job of anyone this summer. We play for 20 minutes and then I go play ping pong for the rest of the night. It's crazy, man. It really is.
So what do you think you're going to do after the tour? Or how does that, so walk me through, how does that work? You're wrapping up a tour. If you have another gig, great. Well, you know what you're going to do next. If you don't have another gig, what is the process that typically happens?
You know, there's a couple of things. I mean, I guess that's kind of the question of self-employment. Mm-hmm. I guess is, you know, you really, if you don't have something lined up, you really have no idea what's coming up. You know, it's crazy. I don't want to say I don't worry about it, but I keep on getting time that, like, you can't really worry about where it's going to come from next, because this gig in particular I'm doing right now did not, like, came from the place that I least expected. Like, you know, and that seems to be the case for every cool thing that I've gotten to do, is anytime that I try to think of a plan of how it's going to come around, I'm always like 100% wrong. So yeah, I guess what it comes down to is what I've learned and what I've been able to learn from my dad and various people like Tim Galloway and just people in town is, if you just be the best person that you can be and you meet people and you can play the part, stuff will hopefully come to you when it needs to.
How did this tour come about?
This man, it's kind of a long story. So, but I'll give you the short end of it. So, Ryan Follese's dad is this guy named Keith Follese. Mm-hmm. And Keith Follese is a big writer in town. He wrote what's that Tim McGraw song? Something like that. Wrote a lot of big country tunes, especially in the 90s. And so me and my brother had worked for him for an artist that he was doing something with, probably like in 2015, I think, mm-hmm. a couple years ago. It was just a little one-off thing in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and then that was the last I heard of him. And then like a year later, maybe a little bit less, I got a call from Keith, and he was like, "Hey, my son is getting ready to do this label audition. Would you come play with them?" And I was actually, I said no. I Wow. recommended my buddy. Yeah, crazy. But at the time, I was just playing, like, I wasn't playing with the same person twice that year. I was just like constantly, I didn't have a couple weeks where I didn't have someone's whole other set to learn, know? So I was just like, and I was trying to balance having some kind of social life in there. So and I was living with my parents, so I wasn't worried about money. So at the time I was just thinking like, man, I have this one like week stretch where I don't have to do anything, and I just not willing to give it up. So I recommended my buddy Dylan, who's an incredible musician, and he started going out with them. And then Ryan started to take off, and I was like, damn, dude, like, what have I done? And then, yeah, I mean, probably like almost a year later after that, I had been playing with with John Barry. Do you know John Barry?
I do not.
He was a big country artist in the 90s, and I had been playing with him all last year, and he was kind of wrapping up for the year, and my buddy Dylan texted me. He was like, "You wouldn't be interested in coming and auditioning for Ryan's full band, would you?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, yes, that sounds great."
But wasn't your buddy playing for them? No.
Yeah, he was.
So what slot was open as a guitar player if he already had it?
See, he was more of a keyboard, and he's one of those guys. I hate this guy. He's good at everything he plays. He's mainly a keyboard player, but he's a great mandolin player. So they were really just looking for an electric guitar player, and he would do all the other stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and went and did that, and was so positive, like after the audition, that I didn't get the gig. Like, I walked in, and the first thing the manager said, and the manager was this dude named John Hamlin. He's awesome, but he's a little intimidating. And I saw him when I walked in and set up all my stuff. I saw him ask my buddy Dylan, like, I saw it in his lips. He goes, "How old is he?" I was like, shit. I'm like, I'm so screwed. And then I messed up. Like, I was singing harmony parts, and I totally messed up the words too. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh man, this is just. So it was actually good, because I just straight up decided, I'm like, I'm just gonna have a good time, And they came in and they decided right then and there, like, all right, this is the band that we want, and we're playing the Today Show in 4 days. So
wow,
get ready. Yeah, it was quite an experience for sure. And then I've just been with him since then. That was October of last year.
Wow, so
it's been almost a year.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, that's probably not the first time you heard that objection as a young guy. It's a blessing and a curse. The positive side of it is, wow, this guy's very talented at a young age. The negative side is, this guy's very young. How do you typically handle that if people address it with you? Like, what is your stock response to that?
Being 20 is different, because I don't get that nearly as much. That's more so just like you're young. But when I was 17 and going out with people that were at least in their middle 20s or 30s, I don't know. I think I just kind of saw that there was a role that I could be like a little brother to these people.
Right.
And so I just freaking capitalized on it and didn't really, in a lot of, probably not the best way of doing things, quite honestly, because in a lot of ways I just wanted to make sure I never, ever got in the way.
Sure.
So I would really stay out of conversations that I thought, 17-year-old doesn't have anything to throw in here, you know?
Sure. I could understand.
So it was just that kind of thing. But I don't know. I guess the biggest thing that was always kind of jammed into my head and what I always wanted to try to put out there was that even though I'm 17, like I'm still a professional. I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, I knew that wasn't going to play into my favor. So it actually kind of motivated me to really have the material down and go in as prepared as possible. So it's just a good habit to build for sure. But yeah.
Well, it sounds
pretty much
that sounds totally reasonable. I mean, forget about in the music situation. I think in any situation where you're 17 and you're sitting down with guys that are much older than you, you're going to sit and question, okay, what's my role here? How do I fit in or not? And what to do? I think the fact that it happened to be music, I think you probably would have had the same, and I think it was a good mindset in any situation, you know, it just happened to be music. So.
All right. So this is the advice my dad gave me. The thing was like, you could be the best player in the world or in town, but if you're a dick, no one's going to hire you, you know?
Sure.
Like no one wants to hang around that. So, you know, the music business is really like everyone can play. It's just that, you know, how well do the personalities mesh? And is this someone you're willing to spend 12 hours in a church van driving across the country with, you know?
Yes. I've heard that from a lot of artists that, you know, just like that's the standard rule, like just don't be a dick, and was exactly what you said.
And you'll be great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's talk about like your origins now. I know you were born and raised in Nashville. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what kind of childhood did you have?
A pretty non-typical one, I guess. But, you know, I guess if you don't know any better, then you think that that's how it works. But
very true.
Yeah, there was always music in the house. I remember like my parents would always go out and they'd play shows like in town, or I actually, you know, it's funny. Literally, I have a sister too who's an amazing singer. But yeah, my mom, my brother, my dad, everyone in the family is really talented musicians, and I had zero talent when I was younger, like none. I think they thought I was broken or I might get a real job or something.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was pretty crazy. So when I was younger, I just always had a bunch of music around me, but I was super into, at first I wanted to be a magician, and then I was super into breakdancing. I mean, I was like 6, but regardless. And then I was pretty obsessed with basketball for a while. And then up until around when I was 12, that's when I kind of decided to try to give. Oh, you know what? Actually, Guitar Hero came out. And it's funny. This is actually really common, I think, in kids around my age who started playing. Guitar Hero came out, and all of a sudden it was cool to play guitar. So you wanted to learn how to actually play. And that's what happened to me. But I got to come home, and if I wanted to learn Black Dog, like my dad could teach me, right. You know, which all of a sudden he got really cool. You know, all of a sudden, I used to. I mean, you grow up in it. I'm sure, like, I don't know. I'm sure if Jimmy Page is your dad, you probably think he's super lame. You know.
Yeah.
But to anyone else, it's like, dude,
it's Jimmy
Page.
He's
the guy. Yeah, exactly.
So wait a minute. Your dad's a professional musician. And
yes, sir.
And he's written songs as well, right? What does your dad play? Are they all? Your dad and your brother both play guitars?
No, we got a family band. My dad's a bass player.
Okay. And
my brother's a drummer.
Okay, cool. And what about your sister sings?
Yeah.
And what does your mom do?
She's a vocal coach, but yeah, she's a great singer too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you grew up with music, and your parents are both in the music industry. At what point in time did you sort of say, hey, this is something I'm going to get interested in on more than a recreational level?
It was probably when I was 12, and I probably didn't have any thoughts that it couldn't happen. So I don't think ever in my head I ever had this thing of like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I think it was more so like, man, I really love this, so I'm just going to do this,
Yes.
Totally. So there's and also probably growing up in a musician family, and like, especially like definitely in my family, like if you have a dream that you want to go towards, like, and if you try not to, they'll kick your ass. They'll kick my ass for it, I should say.
Right.
So I never had any, like any rejection to like, I started playing guitar, and I think it was more so in the family. They're just like, well, I guess we got another one,
Sure.
And he'll do, I guess I had one time, I think I've been playing guitar for like 6 months, and I said something about being a guitar player, and my dad was like, you're not actually a guitar player, right? I was like, what? He goes, play me a G chord, like right now, do it. And I couldn't do it, and it made me so mad. So that might have been the moment that I was like, I'm gonna take this shit really seriously and go for it. And honestly, moving it into a professional thing just happened really naturally. Like, there wasn't really any conscious effort to be like, I want to do this or I want to do that. It just more so is just like, I love doing this. And then all these things just happen to kind of fall into place around it,
Well, I think all the normal questions that somebody not coming from a musical family have, you had none of those. Like, you never once did it go through your mind, how do I become a professional? Where do I go to play music? Where do I find people to play with? None of those questions. You'd never have any reason to have any of those questions enter your mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, any more than someone who travels around the world would think about, gee, how would I travel? It's just, that's what you do. And there was no, it was pretty much almost there for the taking if you wanted it and you knew, and here's the formula you already knew. So that makes a lot of sense, actually. There was no conscious decision. So moving forward, you said touring isn't for you long term. What would you like to be doing eventually, if you have even those thoughts?
Eventually I'd really like to get more into the producing side of things, and possibly the songwriting side of things too. Probably in the pop world, quite honestly.
What are some of the biggest, and again, this may be a different answer for you now that I'm getting to know you a little bit, or you may not have an answer for this. I want to know, as you first started playing professionally, what were some of the bigger surprises about being a professional musician, if you had any? Now, you might not have any, again, based on what we've already discussed.
Sure. You know what? You're pretty right. But no, here, I guess the biggest thing, and I think I already talked about it, but it still was a surprise. Like, the biggest thing is like the people that you look up to so heavily that are doing these huge tours. It's sort of like, not only are they great players, but I mean, they're some of the sweetest people you run into on the planet, and those two things really do go hand in hand. And really just kind of how much, especially in the touring world, kind of how much of that business is about, are you a good human being? Someone put it really good. I wish I could remember. It might've been Tim Galloway who told me this. But he was talking about auditions, and he said, like when they call up an audition and there's like, say, 7 of you, every one of those 7 people can kill the gig playing wise. They're just trying to figure out who meshes with the personalities the best.
Sure.
So I do think that's the biggest thing is, and then the other thing was like how important the look is. That was just a thing I never really thought about. And when you're playing live, I mean, the look is almost just as important as how good it sounds, quite honestly.
Look as far as fitting in with the rest of the band, or fitting in with what the audience wants to see image-wise, or both?
Both. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
I mean, like, I think, I mean, you can't go up on stage in certain predicaments, just not dressed up. It's just kind of, it almost ruins the show for the audience a little bit.
You're an entertainer, so that, you Absolutely. Have to entertain. It's what you just said, by the way. It's something that I learned in business, that usually the people that are the most successful also happen to be genuinely nice, with rare exception. You rarely find someone in business that's happens to be successful that's a dick. They're just, nice people along the way for the most part.
Sure.
What was the most important thing you learned from your dad? Obviously, he's been a big influence on you. About music or about anything, playing guitar, music business.
Man, I could go on forever about that. See, I got lucky. I have an extremely close relationship with my dad. I got really lucky. So I think probably the biggest thing that I learned from him, it goes back, you already said it kind of, just don't limit your thinking, and you can't limit, what you want to go after and really worry about how it's going to happen. You just kind of got to be ready for it when the opportunity comes up for what you want to do. Yeah. That's probably it.
How about from your mom? That's a great thing to learn. How about from your mom?
Ooh, I think the one I got from my mom is don't do drugs and don't have sex. I think that's the big advice I got from my mom.
Don't do drugs and don't have sex.
Don't have sex. There you go. No. My mom is probably echoing the same thing. They're pretty on the same page about that. Yeah, probably the same thing from her.
As a young guy, it's still early in your career. There's certain things that you do to make sure people don't forget that you're out there and available. Like I don't know what those things would be, but is there something deliberate that you do to keep people aware of John Prentice?
Sure. If there is something like that, I'm terrible at it because I have no idea. That's a part of my game I got to work on. The social media thing is a big deal, and I try to run away from it as much as I can. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like we were talking about earlier with streaming music and CDs. It's just the way things are now. You can disagree with it all you want, but these days, having a really big social media following is a big deal, and it helps you out a lot. And it's a piece of my game that I'm willing to admit I've done nothing to help myself there. But yeah, I would say the way that I've been able to get around that I'm available is just through word of mouth. And that's honestly that's how things, especially, and I don't know about other places. I've only ever lived in Nashville, but in Nashville for sure. I mean, it's all word of mouth, So I think I have some friends that I could call if things got super slow and just be like, hey, is there anything going on out there? Have you heard of, like, if you hear of anything, would you mind throwing it my way? But I've never really had to do that. But I guess if I needed to do that, that would probably be that. But yeah, I guess so. If that's an answer. Sorry.
Well, a lot of guys I've spoken to don't really like going on social media. I think as an entertainer, I could understand that because you're out there 24/7 entertaining, and then the last thing you want to do is come home and say, "Hey, I'm on social media. Let me entertain some more."
Right.
I would imagine, like, most of the guys I've spoken to are actually fairly shy personalities, and
sure,
when they go on stage, it's almost like they get to be themselves, but out of character, and step out of that shy role. And some of them have to work really hard at it. But like the last thing they all want to do is come back home and post on Facebook and stuff like that. So I hear that pretty regularly.
Sure, yeah, but I will say we had a drummer that we were playing with earlier this year, and he was constantly posting on Instagram and Facebook, and we kind of give him shit about it, but every person that I ran into in town that that knew him as well is like, man, I can see what you guys are up to, man. This is crazy. You guys, like from social media standpoint, it made it sound like
he's everywhere.
We were, yeah.
That's what it does. Who was that? Was that Kyle by any chance?
It wasn't Kyle. No.
Okay. He's a really good guy. He's a drummer and he's on social media, but not that much.
Gotcha.
So.
Sure.
Who are your biggest influences guitar wise?
How long you got? Let's see. I think
Cliff Notes.
Yeah, Cliff Notes. All right. So I think in the beginning it was Jimmy Page, and then like Cream era Eric Clapton.
Wow, and, that is very unusual to hear from a 20-year-old.
Yeah,
I applaud it, but very
dude.
Unusual.
That's what started it out, man. And obviously Jimi Hendrix and all the classics, and then Robin Ford kind of took over my life for a little bit. Larry Carlton, and then kind of got into that old LA session guitar player scene. Steve Lukather, everyone goes through, that stuff. I was into Yngwie Malmsteen for a little bit.
Okay.
There's this dude, Guthrie Govan. Have you heard of him? Yeah, sure. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Good Lord, man. I got super into that guy for a while. There's a dude named Guthrie Trapp down here. That's ridiculous.
Know him too.
And then recently, there's this guy named Julian Lage, who's unbelievable jazz guitar player, just crazy. Him, this guy named Borelli Lagreen, unbelievable. And then I guess Tony Rice is the newest one right now. He's kind of the father of bluegrass guitar a little bit.
Okay. It seems like you've picked father of genres, like you said, Page, Clapton, Hendrix, and then you said Robin Ford and Carlton, Yngwie. You're picking leaders or innovators in these genres and paying close attention to them, which is just great.
Sure.
Did you buy a 335 in your Robin Ford, Larry Carlton stage?
Oh, of course. Of course. I mean, it was an Epiphone, but absolutely.
Which one? The Dot? The Epi Dot?
Yeah.
Man,
oh, yeah.
You know what? I bought one of those, and I have to say, I absolutely love the sound.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those pickups are just, like, I'm a big Freddie King fan. I was like, oh, my God, this actually sounds like... But, I had to wind up getting rid of it because it just feels... It just feels like a toy guitar after a while.
I know. I got rid of mine too. I know. I understand.
And it really killed me. And I was like, man, but I just, picking up a Strat or a Les Paul or, and then playing that, it was like, I can't. And it was really.
I know. You could feel, what's funny is those Epiphones are kind of hit and miss sometimes, because I've played some that like, all right, this feels like a Gibson. And then I'll play one right next to it that feels like the toy.
Yeah.
It's weird how that works.
I think the older ones, like most everything, would be more quality instruments.
Yeah.
If you can get an old one for like $500-600, that would probably be a really good guitar. But it was tough because it was sounding good, but I wasn't enjoying playing it. I'm glad you felt the same way. Are you a gearhead?
I not comparatively to all my peers. It's funny. I'm kind of like, I'm not a self-loathing guitar player, but like I don't take guitar all that seriously most of the time.
Explain.
Well, a lot of my favorite music has no guitar in it.
Wow.
Or it's playing a very minimal role. Like I'd say like my favorite genre of music is all that old Motown stuff.
Okay.
And the What's Going On record is like
Marvin Gaye.
Oh yeah. Unbelievable, man. I think if I have like, three top records, like my kind of desert island record, it would be Marvin Gaye, What's Going On record. Do you know D'Angelo, the Voodoo record?
I know who he is. I don't listen to that music, but I know who he is. Yeah.
Super R&B. Love that thing. And then there's a Kendrick Lamar album. And those, none of those are very reminiscent of guitar stuff,
No, you listen to the same music my younger son listens to. He's closer in your age.
Sure.
That's funny, man. Yeah, but that Marvin Gaye album, I chuckled because I remember the first time my wife and I started hanging out, and she's from the UK, so I did a very like such a goofy thing. So she comes over to my place and I'm like, "Do you want to hear some music?" She goes, "Yeah." So I put the Beatles on and she's looking at me. She goes, "Why'd you put on?" And she's like, and I'm like, "Oh, you don't like this?" She goes, "No." And I said, "Well, I figured you're English." And I said, "Well, what kind of music you like?" She goes, "Like Motown." So I put Marvin Gaye, "What's Going On?" And that wasn't her flavor either. She
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know what she likes at 25 years later.
I was going to say the rest is history, but that's funny.
Yeah, but we're not musically compatible. But somehow she managed to tolerate my music styles. But it was when you said "What's Going On," I chuckled, man. That was why I remember that like clear as yesterday, man. So what's your main go-to guitar that you play?
If I ever have a choice, I'll play a Telecaster. And I got a really great Telecaster by this company called Revelator. They're out of New Jersey, and it's one of the best Telecasters I've ever played, and it's the coolest looking Telecaster, if I do say so myself.
What's cool about it? I've never heard of them. Maybe I'll contact them. Revelator out of New Jersey. I've heard of so many guys in town playing different, boutique brands, but Revelator I've not heard of. What do you like about it so much?
Just it feels like an old guitar. It's a couple years old, but it feels like an old guitar, and it really wears. And just as a side note, the guys at Revelator are the sweetest human beings I've ever met. They're just Scott and Eric are just incredible people.
Is that maple neck or rosewood?
It is a maple neck, but they have it tinted so dark that it looks like rosewood, and
gotcha.
The body's gold. It has a gold foil pickup in the neck. It's pretty sick.
So it's their own pickups.
No, I think they use Fralins. I think.
Okay.
Fralins or Lawlers. Actually, I think it's Lawlers. But yeah, I got that, and then I have a PRS or two that is usually for other stuff. If it needs that kind of sound, it's kind of the right guitar. And those things are freaking cool. I got my first PRS like early last year, or a little later last year, sorry. And it was this old like McCarty. Mm-hmm. And I think that was so cool. It's like Sunburst, kind of one of the earlier models. And I remember I saw the guitar on Craigslist for a price that I could afford. And I was like, I got to get it, because it took me back to my dad took me on a session when I was younger, probably like 12 or 13. I think the guitar player on it was Jeff King, and he had that exact PRS. And I remember looking at it and being like, I can never afford one of those things. Like, I'm never going to be able to get that. So when I saw my chance, I was like, dude, I'm grabbing this for right now. And I played that thing every day. It's great.
And that looks like it's kind of the model of McCarty resembles a Les Paul.
I got the one that kind of has the double cutaway, kind of more like the Strat in a way.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I've never played a PRS. I've obviously heard so many good things about it. I have not to play a PRS guitar.
It's an experience, man. They're definitely worth the try.
Okay,
sure.
So Telly, your PRS, your Revelator Telly, your PRS. What would be your top three?
My third one is another Revelator.
Oh wow!
And it's a Strat, but it's shell pink, and it has a lap steel pickup in the bridge.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the only guitar I've ever custom ordered. And I got it in pink because I always wanted a guitar in shell pink for some reason.
Yeah, shell pink. Some of those colors are shell pink, eggshell blue, surf green. They're really nice looking colors, man. I really dig them. They're very
and it's cool. It changes colors depending on what light you're in. So sometimes it just looks like a really off white. Sometimes it looks painfully pink. It's a really cool guitar.
Very cool.
Actually, you know what? Since we're here, since talking about that, it's called a Cootercaster. I got one more guy to throw in.
Yeah.
To my guitar players that I look up to. My other favorite guy right now is this dude named Blake Mills. He's freaking unbelievable. Just to throw him in, he's kind of today's Rye Cooter. If you know Rye at all.
I totally do.
Yeah.
Totally
do. They're freaking monsters, man. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's all good, man. What was the first guitar you had? If you remember?
I bought the first guitar I had. Oh, here's just another thing real quick, that being in a musician family, like.
Oh yeah, you probably had. That's why you're not really big on guitars, because like you see all this stuff now. I get it. because why would you be? Guitars are like, you know, a guy who's an IT guy having computers all over the house.
Sure. You know, that makes sense. Actually, I haven't really thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Totally. It's like not a big deal for you. It's like it's like a pencil or a pen in a sense.
Sure.
It's just a tool.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but so having all the musical instruments, even when I was younger, the deal with my parents was they were never going to buy any of my guitars because I think my dad just thought I wouldn't respect it the same way. So
he's right.
I saved up. Yeah, he was right. He was spot on. I saved up like $100 or something, and I got an Epiphone Les Paul Jr. off of Craigslist.
Awesome.
Oh man, you know, that makes me think when I was younger, like, yeah, probably 14, 13, 15 in that area. I was a freaking Craigslist shark, man. Like I had this whole system down where like, if I saw a guitar I really wanted for $400 and I really wanted them to go down to $350, I call them up, and I have a high voice anyway, but when I was like 13, my voice hadn't even really changed yet. So I'd call them up and I'd be like, hey, I saw your guitar. I only have $324.48. Is there any chance? Because I just thought when you throw the cents in, they're thinking like, oh man, this poor kid's giving me everything that he has.
Right.
They'd always be like, nah, man, just 300's fine. So man, dude, I sharked that place like crazy when I was younger.
All right, that's a good tip for everybody listening. Actually,
yeah, dude.
So that was your first guitar, the Epi Les Paul Jr.
Was.
Cool. Do you still have that?
I do actually.
That's cool. Do you ever play it once in a while just to sort of like get nostalgic?
I think I set it up for slide one time. When my dad was playing with Don McLean, I had Don McLean sign it when I was younger.
That's cool.
But it's since rubbed off. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't very smart about that, I guess. But yeah, no, I still have it, and it just kind of collects dust in my room now.
Does Don McLean still tour?
Yeah, believe it or not, yeah.
Wow, I just have never heard of him touring. I mean, I'm just surprised. I mean, I didn't know he had much of I wouldn't know outside of, you know, American Pie if he had a big repertoire or not.
Sure.
Yeah, I just never listened to him. All right, let's go inside the music studio for a little while, man. Talk about your personal life. Are you outgoing or shy by nature?
You know, I think I'm a little bit of both, quite honestly. I think I'm a very shy person who learned to be outgoing, because it's also a little bit of your job, you know. So when we're out on the road, you know, I love people and I love hanging out with people, especially people that I actually enjoy, you know.
Yep.
So I do that when we're out there, and then when I get home, my friends are actually kind of pissed at me right now, but I do my best to not leave my house. I'm definitely
really
antisocial as hell. Absolutely.
Well, see, that's what I was saying, because it's like you're out 24/7, man. It's like, I could understand why you just, you know, build me a wall and let me hang out in there.
Absolutely. Alone time is huge, and you do not get it, or you get it very sparsely when you're out, you know.
What do you do with your alone time? I mean, do you have any hobbies outside of music, or what do you like to do?
You know, hobbies outside of music, I was mildly obsessed with basketball here until very recently. Like, it was a problem, because they're, you know, my dreams of being in the NBA, those are dreams that.
How tall are you?
You know, dude, I'm like 5'10", like, and I got no hops. Yeah, no,
I'd have to say your dreams are
not working.
I'm not a dream crusher, but
dude, it's okay. It's okay. I need a little reality check. Yeah, not working.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
But yeah, so basketball is definitely a big one. I'm super into conspiracy theories, if I'm being completely real. I love that shit.
That's interesting. Are you gonna be a prepper as you get older?
You know, the thing is, like, I listen to him. I don't believe in him. I think part of the thing that I enjoy.
You're like a conspiracy voyeur.
I am. I think I love hearing crazy people talk. I think it's very interesting to me. And the ones that I love the most are like the people they're like driving in their car and they're filming themselves. They're like, look, all right. Like, I don't know. The presidents, they're all lizard people. And if you don't believe it, you're blind. You're a sheep. And I'm like, I love that guy, man. I wish I felt that strongly about anything.
That's creative.
Actually, I think the most recent thing I got into is I'm getting into psychology a little bit.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I find that stuff very interesting.
What in particular?
I got a couple books called He, She, and We. And he's obviously it's masculine psychology, she is feminine psychology, and then we is how the two kind of interact
Good.
in psychological ways. Yeah, very insightful.
I think that's a real good thing to do, especially as a young person, to understand what makes people tick. You could only benefit from it going down the road, man. That's great.
And that's about it.
If you weren't doing what you're doing now, and I don't even know if this question's relevant because it's probably nothing that's ever crossed your mind, but what do you think you would be doing if you weren't playing guitar professionally?
Maybe going to college, Yeah, it would probably be that. That thought has kind of crossed my mind a little bit, and it freaks me out a little bit, quite honestly, because
why?
I guess I've just always kind of known for so long, kind of at least a direction that I was moving towards. So to kind of be out with no direction freaks me out a little bit, but I'm kind of slowly learning to get control of that. I think if I wasn't playing guitar, but I was still interested in music, I'd probably be working full time on kind of more electronic music production.
Right.
Or like I said, going to college.
Well, you can always go to college. It's not a mutually exclusive thing for music. I mean, if you want to go to college, you could take classes online. You could take a course, when you're going to be in town for a summer or something like that.
I think college. The bigger appeal to college to me is more like just being in a dorm room with a bunch of people your own age and low supervision. That sounds like a lot of fun. But,
well, you know what? I understand that because, again, you've been a young guy out on the road. You've been in, I guess, supervised or controlled situations, and you probably are looking at people that are cutting loose at your age all the time out of control. But I will tell you that hindsight 2020, you won't realize this now, but you're probably going to be much better off not being in a dorm room unsupervised short and long term. Trust me, because there's outside of partying and being in that moment. I mean, there's no long term upside to that. Take it from someone who did it for a while. So if I had to do it again, I wouldn't have done it.
Still sounds like fun though.
I hear you. What's your favorite place you've traveled so far?
You know what? We did 2 shows at Red Rocks, and that takes the cake by far.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I could totally.
That was unbelievable, and we got to do it like our first show was like the day of the eclipse too, so we got to just hang out there, watch the eclipse. Yeah, unbelievable, man.
Very cool.
Really crazy. Well,
because of your age, I'm going to ask you this question: if you could be a superhero, which one would you be?
It always surprises me when people don't say Superman, because like, what can't that guy do?
I'd like to be Daredevil.
Daredevil?
Yeah. Even though he was blind, he just had this extrasensory perception that allowed him to do anything. And he was a super, like, all about justice, so that kind of floats my boat, like making like Robin Hood-ish.
Sure.
And that
hey, I don't blame you, man. Daredevil's a badass dude, but
really was.
In my opinion, you're giving up X-ray vision for no vision. You know what I'm saying?
Good point. Yeah, I'm giving up. But Daredevil doesn't look like it. That is, he doesn't feel he has no vision.
Sure.
He feels he could see. Yeah. I see it, but the power to fly too is pretty impressive. I know
that's great. Yeah, that's the thing that really takes the cake for me, for sure.
Yeah.
But no, dude, Daredevil. Oh man. Was Ben Affleck in the first Daredevil that came out?
Yeah, but I'll pull myself away from that movie.
You know what's funny? But here's the funny thing. When I was little, that movie was my shit. When that thing first came out, I don't know how long ago that came out now.
It was a while.
But when I was little, dude, like I used to pretend, like no kidding, I used to pretend I was Daredevil. Like I'd go down and get a stick, pretend it was my walking cane and stuff. Yeah, thought it was cool to be blind. Yeah, it was weird.
Well, I like the old Daredevil from back in the day when Marvel Comics, this guy Frank Miller used to draw and write the comic. He was a really good author. So that's why I like him.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask you 2 more questions and be respectful of time.
All right.
First question is, anything you're currently trying to improve on, musically, personally, business, or anything else? that you're?
All the above, all the time, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm at that point. I don't know if this is an age thing, or maybe this, from what I gather from older people, this seems to never end. But yeah, I don't feel like there's anything in my life right now that I can't improve on. That's pretty broad, I guess. But yeah, personally, dude, self-love is a crazy concept to me.
In what way?
But it's huge.
Being okay with who you are?
Yeah, fully, and really, and actually loving yourself. That, I don't know why that was such a weird concept to me. But it was. So kind of, I don't know, kind of learning about that. It's interesting. I think I thought about this book with something you were saying earlier. Have you read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
No, but I've read many, many books like that. I have not
Yeah.
read that one, but I've read tons of self-development books,
Dude,
in a similar genre.
I love self-development books, man. So personally kind of everywhere, man. But I would say musically right now, just to be specific for the guitar podcast, I think the thing that I'm really working on is just kind of my fluidity and kind of outlining changes. I guess kind of my goal here for the next couple of years is I want to be able to be at a point where I can play straight eighth notes through any chord changes and be able to outline them really well.
You mean
with
when
no
you're
problems.
when you're soloing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then just get my tone together more. I think that's something that's kind of always effectively changing, but I think kind of because for the longest time I really wasn't a gearhead. I've actually learned to care a lot more about it. But my tone needs a lot of work sorry, I just got a text about it. I got super distracted. No, my tone needs a lot of work. So that's another big thing. Those are 2 pretty specific ones for you.
Are you more focused on tone through pedals or through amps?
Both. And I think the biggest tone is your hands. I think it starts there, and then learning how to get the right pedal. Although I don't know, it's so funny. There's, especially in Nashville, you can ask anyone, because everyone here has pretty incredible tone, and they all say something a little different. I know some people that think that if you don't start with the right amp, then you're not going to get the right tone. So I think that's big. I think, honestly, I think it's kind of a holy trinity that needs to kind of all fit together. You need right pedals, right amp, and then just, know how to play the guitar correctly.
Yeah, I agree with you, because, that being said, what you said, if you don't have the right amp, but, if Jimmy Page or Eric Clapton picked up a guitar, you'd know it's Jimmy Page or Eric Clapton, even if they were playing through a 15-watt old, or even new Cube and a Squire.
Absolutely.
So I think that's, I think what you said, I agree with you. I think that everybody's always looking to improve. There's no, like, if I talked to someone who said, yeah, I've evolved, and I'd be like, okay, I gotta stay clear of that dude. But yeah,
sure.
You're always trying to get better and be a better person and, learn stuff. And to tell you the truth, that's one of the things I like most about this podcast, because I always learn something from every single person I interview, and I'm big into trying to be a better person and learn more. So I always like hearing everybody's stories. It does a lot to help me.
Well, it's incredible too. I've been trying to sleep earlier. Right now my schedule is I go to bed at like 4 a.m. and wake up at 1, and my day is gone. So I've been trying to learn to. Part of that is because, going back to the iPhone thing, I'm on my iPhone just looking up YouTube videos because there's so much stuff out there. Anyway,
yeah.
So I've just been like shutting my phone off at night, and my mind's just going wild. But one of the things that I was thinking about is like, man, if you have the right perspective on things, so succeeding at things you're trying to do is great. Mm-hmm. It really is. But I mean, even when you really like screw up on something, that's when you learn the most. It's crazy how it works.
Yeah.
But it's the truth, so it's like, man, there's really no going wrong. And it's sometimes, I heard, like, I think it was the Warriors one year, the basketball team, Golden State Warriors, when they were on their insane win streak, and they finally lost. One of the players said, like, I'm glad we lost, because it's hard to tell people that our system is wrong when we're continually winning, you know?
Right.
So sometimes it's good to just kind of have that big moment of, okay, I really fucked this up. What am I doing really wrong? Yeah.
That's a good question to ask yourself. And like, for me, I've always found, and maybe everybody's position is different or difficult or easier or difficult. For me, I find when I'm deep in some shit, that's when I find the biggest opportunities to say, okay, if I do just what you said, if I figure out what was my role in this, because I don't personally believe, look, sometimes life hands you some bad medicine, and, you know, like obviously if you get sick or something, but sometimes events that seem random, you have a role in them. And I always try to look at what's my role in that fuck up, even if it doesn't seem like it's related to me. And if I could take something out of that, then I you know, get something good out of it and hopefully not make that same mistake or run down that rabbit hole in the future. So yeah, I think your head is on really good for a young guy, man. For whatever,
thank you.
For whatever that's worth. And I'm no therapist, I assure you. But
yeah, I was going to say, maybe you should get to know me a little bit better.
Hey, one last question. It'll fit in right with this theme. What's your definition of happiness, John?
Dude.
Tough question.
How long you got? Yeah, no, my definition of happiness right now.
Perfect answer. Right now.
Yeah. Actually, no, what's hilarious? In the sociology book that I'm reading, it's talking about the trap of chasing happiness, and its theory. Oh, it gave this great definition. It said that the what the word happiness comes from is I forget how it works, but it basically means to happen. That's kind of the definition of happiness, to happen. So his whole thing in this book that he's trying to explain is, you know, you can't, if you're chasing happiness, it's just sort of like you almost kind of lose sight and really get to enjoy what's really around you at the time, you know? And he kind of described it as, he knew these guys that were really excited to go camping in the mountains for a while, you know? And he was like, and in their minds, they just talked about how much fun they were going to have, and they're going to do all these things. And just really, you know, really excited about it. And then they went up there and they stayed for half a day because they got really bored, because they kind of set up all these big expectations as opposed to just kind of going in there and just really enjoying it for what it was. So, oh man, that's probably the worst answer you've gotten for happiness. But right now, the concept of happiness is kind of changing in my head right now. You know,
that's probably always going to change, because you're you know, as you change.
Sure.
So what would that definition be for you? Not seeking happiness is happiness?
Yeah. I guess so. Just sort of like, I guess thinking, what's the way to put it? Yeah, I guess just going through life, just learning to not really expect anything, and just to be in the moment as much as possible. You know, because we have such a fucking short time here. Life is so short.
Yes, for sure.
Unbelievable. So just really, I guess my definition of happiness is being able to properly enjoy what I have around me in the moment. And there it is for right now. Yeah.
That's a great definition, man, and it works. Hey, listen, man, I really enjoy this much more than I thought I would, actually, to be 100% honest with you. Yeah. You good guy, man.
Hey, likewise. Thank you.
Only because you're so young. I'm like, oh my God. I always wonder if when I'm interviewing someone, saying, I hope, because I have kids older than you.
Sure.
And, you know, and I'm thinking, what would I interview my kids? They wouldn't want to pay any attention to anything I'm saying.
Sure.
It's like what you said before, you know, even Jimmy Page's kid thinks, oh, my dad.
Yeah, man. No, your kids are going to think you're lame. I think you're awesome, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for your time. Is there anything you want to promote, or is there anything you're working on that you want to let people know about, or is there any products that you have or social media that you want to turn people on to? Let's give them, spill the beans.
You know, I should have all those things. I ain't got shit. I'm just doing my thing, and I got nothing to promote.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
To be here.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
I freaking, I think my dad put up a YouTube channel that has a bunch of old videos of me that I'd rather not put out there. So
you know what? I did see some videos here. I was like really young, and I was like, man, this guy's a lot younger than I thought. And I said, no, this has got to be old, because I spoke to the guy on the phone. He didn't sound like 15. You had these videos of you and you're like 15. I'm like, wow, this is
nice. I did not post those. I say, you know what, real quick, answer a question you asked me a while ago.
Yeah.
The way that I get people, or the way that people know that I'm still out there and I'm doing stuff, is they look at my dad's Facebook page, because he's not afraid to boast.
Good, man. That's what dads do. That's what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Good for you and good for your dad, man.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm really looking forward to maybe having you back on the show in a year or two, because I think your career is going to do great. And whether you're producing or still out on the road or running your own band, I think you're going to do real good for sure, man. So in a couple of years, you'll come back on the show, and we'll get to compare. We could play the old. I'll send you you'll listen to this show before we go on we'll do another interview, and you'll get a kick out of it. I'm willing to bet.
Absolutely. That sounds great.
All right, man. John, I appreciate your time. Everybody, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview with John Prentice. Thanks so much to John for spending his time with us. We really appreciate it. And go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified of future episodes, along with some cool new things we have for guitar players. Now, be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, I'm out. Peace, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.